Russian troops in 40-mile death convoy move into attack positions near Kyiv as Ukrainians fortify every street and home. Russia is feared to be planning another major assault on Ukraine's capital Kyiv, as troops have been pictured moving towards the city. Satellite images show Russian tanks and other vehicles heading towards Kyiv, while other aerial footage appears to reveal military equipment being stationed outside the capital. The images from Maxar, which has been monitoring the invasion since the start, were taken close to Antonov Airport, just miles from the city. A large military convoy can be seen traveling along the main road. Images appear to show the infamous 40-mile death convoy of Russian vehicles stalled near Kyiv for almost 2 weeks has now dispersed, as rocket artillery is moved into firing positions for an assault on the city. Today, the UK Defence Ministry has claimed Russia is likely to want to resume its offensive in Kyiv in the coming days. The huge column was first seen on February 28 after grinding to a halt on the main highway leading south to the capital, after being hit by breakdowns, fuel shortages, and supply problems. It originally set off from Belarus and has been making its way south towards Kyiv, via Chernobyl nuclear power plant. However, forces have since been bogged down amid reports of food, fuel, and equipment shortages. But fresh satellite images taken on Thursday after a break in cloud cover show commanders on the move again, breaking up the column which had become vulnerable to Ukraine counterattacks. Rocket artillery and supply trucks were pictured taking up firing positions in fields outside Berestyanka, a small town 30 miles north of Kyiv, their tire tracks visible in the countryside. While not far away in Lubyanka, vehicles were seen parked in forests as part of a possible camouflage attempt. An estimated 15,000 troops along with fuel tankers and ammunition trucks are believed to be in the convoy. On Friday, President Putin gave the green light for up to 16,000 mercenaries from the Middle East to be deployed alongside pro-Russian rebels in Ukraine. The move would allow Russia to send battle-hardened fighters from conflicts such as Syria into Ukraine without risking further Russian casualties. At a meeting of Russia's Security Council, Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said there were 16,000 volunteers in the Middle East who were ready to fight alongside Russian-backed forces in the breakaway Donbass region in eastern Ukraine. If you see that there are these people who want of their own accord, not for money, to come to help the people living in Donbass, then we need to give them what they want and help them get to the conflict zone, Putin said from the Kremlin. It comes as Kyiv's mayor, former world heavyweight boxing champion Vitaly Klitschko, said that his city has been turned into a fortress ahead of another feared Russian onslaught. Around 2 million people, more than half of the city's residents, are now believed to have evacuated. Russian forces attacked from the west and east late on Wednesday and early on Thursday, as the encirclement of Kyiv appears to be underway. But a defiant Mayor Klitschko warned the Russians would not find their assault on the capital straightforward. Every street, every house is being fortified, the territorial defense is joining, he said in a televised interview on Thursday. Even people who in their lives never intended to change their clothes, now they are in uniform with machine guns in their hands. Russian troops launched 2 major attacks over the past 2 days, one on the devastated western city of Irpin, and the other on the eastern district of Brovary. They have continued to face fierce resistance from Ukraine's forces. Video shows the moment Russian tanks and armored vehicles were bombarded in a fierce Ukrainian ambush and forced to turn back temporarily. Russian tank commander Colonel Andrei Zakharov was reportedly killed in the attack at Brovary, the latest of Putin's top military brass to die in the invasion of Ukraine. Colonel Zakharov had been awarded the Order of Courage by Vladimir Putin in 2016. Vadim Denisenko, an advisor to Ukraine's Interior Ministry, said his country's forces had successfully repelled a Russian attempt to cross the Irpin River in the town of Moshchun. Russian troops launched 2 major attacks over the past 2 days, one on the devastated western city of Irpin, and the other on the eastern district of Brovary. They have continued to face fierce resistance from Ukraine's forces. Video shows the moment Russian tanks and armored vehicles were bombarded in a fierce Ukrainian ambush and forced to turn back temporarily. Russian tank commander Colonel Andrei Zakharov was reportedly killed in the attack at Brovary, the latest of Putin's top military brass to die in the invasion of Ukraine. Colonel Zakharov had been awarded the Order of Courage by Vladimir Putin in 2016. Vadim Denisenko, an advisor to Ukraine's Interior Ministry, said his country's forces had successfully repelled a Russian attempt to cross the Irpin River in the town of Moshchun. Russia appears to have been completely unprepared for the fierce resistance it has so far faced in Ukraine. General Dmytro Marchenko of Ukraine's armed forces claimed this week the Russians were leaving the bodies of their dead in the streets in the panic of the invasion. "It's unpleasant to say this, but their corpses are food for stray dogs," he told The Times. "We're not able to retrieve them because of continuing Russian fire in those areas. But now, there are fears they are attempting to lay siege to Kyiv, encircling the city and cutting off supply and escape routes, while simultaneously shelling it indiscriminately." Today, Britain has warned Vladimir Putin not to use chemical weapons in Ukraine. Digital Minister Chris Philp urged the Russian tyrant do not cross that line amid fears the Kremlin is ready to up its savagery. It comes amid claims Russian troops in Ukraine have been issued with gas masks. Ukraine's Ministry of Defense shared pictures of captured Russian gas masks as part of a hoard including World War II-era helmets and equipment. Moscow has already started peddling lies that Ukraine is preparing to use chemical weapons, and has suggested the US is involved. Putting out such baseless claims is a classic Kremlin false flag that the regime can later use to try and deny blame for its own atrocities. Boris Johnson last night said the disinformation campaign was straight out of the playbook of a cynical, barbaric government. The White House also warned the absurd propaganda was simply to create a pretext for ratcheting up its terror campaign on innocent civilians. This morning Mr. Philp warned the West will be ready to respond much more robustly if Russia targets innocent civilians with biological warfare. He said, "The use of chemical weapons, especially in a war where there are very large numbers of civilians, would be an outrage against humanity. I would say to anyone in Russia thinking about this, do not cross that line, do not inflict any more misery and suffering on the Ukrainian people. It will trigger an increased response from the West, a dramatically increased response, there's no question about that." Yesterday, Russia was accused of nuclear terrorism after bombing a reactor site in Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv. The hit is believed to have happened at the city's Institute of Physics and Technology in a fresh attack after continuous shelling in the region. Dramatic footage shared online shows the explosion sparking massive flames in the air at the building. Anton Gashenko, an advisor to Ukraine's Interior Ministry, said a shell hit a building that holds equipment that could release nuclear radiation if damaged. However, according to the president's office, there has been no change in the background radiation. In a tweet, the parliament's official website said fighting close to the Institute of Physics and Technology was continuing. Ukraine's Center for Strategic Communications and Information Security tweeted, "In Kharkiv, eyewitnesses report a fire in the building of Kharkiv Institute of Physics and Technology. The building contains equipment which, if damaged, can lead to radioactive pollution of the environment." Ukraine's State Nuclear Regulatory Inspectorate accused Russia of committing an act of nuclear terrorism.